Hello, beautiful souls. My name is Christy Godwin. Welcome to my podcast, Spiritual Talk with Christy Godwin and Friends. I am your resident psychic medium, and I would like to welcome Marie McGovern and Charlotte Harris. Thank you both for being here today.
I'm
Yes.
so glad to be.
Yeah.
Now, to have a little bit of background before we roll into why Marie and Charlotte are here, if you go back and look at some of my other podcasts, Marie's and Charlotte's stepdad, not their biological dad, their stepdad is someone named Don Studey. And he is being investigated for some pretty heavy crimes. And they probably wouldn't have been as interested in Don if those crimes had not affected their mother. Now, when they were younger, I know Marie was 15. How old were you, Charlotte, when your mom passed?
Marie was 15, so I was 13.
Was 13, and they had always been told that their mom had taken their own life. But now, after much digging and some things that have come out, it hasn't been proven. The police won't change the statements, but it is pretty clear that your mother died of domestic violence. Now, I want to give people some stats on domestic violence before we roll into this, because if you know someone that has been affected, 1 in 3 women have been affected by domestic violence. So if you know more than 3 women, you have been affected by it. If you yourself are a victim of domestic violence, these notes will be in the verbiage of this podcast, whether you're listening to it on YouTube or a podcast outlet. You can click on it and find the verbiage. The number for the domestic violence hotline is 800-799-7233. Or you can press the word START, START, to the number 88788. Now, if you think that you have not been affected by domestic violence and that you are you don't have anything to do with it. It hasn't affected you at all. I would like you to know that there is a cost, not an emotional cost, an actual number of 8 million days of paid work that were not done by someone because they called in. 8 million days of paid work are missed by women because of domestic violence. 1 in 4 women, 1 in 7 men have been the victims of severe domestic violence. And I'm going to give this one more status before we roll into it. If you have been choked or strangled, you are 750% more likely to be killed from domestic violence than someone who was not. So just know that if you have had someone, that you're in a relationship with someone who has put their hands or something else around your throat, I want you to remember that stat. Okay, so now that we have gotten the statistics out of the way, and please, if anyone is a victim of domestic violence, get help. We're going to roll into what we're here for today. Now, Marie's and Charlotte's biological mom, their actual mom's name was Charlotte Studey at the time of her passing. She was married, Don. So she was married to Don, but he was not y'all's dad, correct?
No, correct.
Now, I want to ask y'all real quick before we roll into how she passed. I want y'all to tell me a little bit about your mom. What do you remember most about her? So we'll start with Marie.
I actually just remember her smile and her laugh. She just, I don't know, she just kind of always brought a light to the room when she was around. I mean, I'm not saying our life was perfect or whatever, and I used to probably strain her nerves a little bit because I was one of those curious children. But she just, I don't know, she just always was there. She was just our rock. So that's kind of what I remember most about her.
Charlotte, what do you remember most about your mom?
Oh, she had a sense of humor. That's where we get it. I mean, she put up with a lot from me and Marie, especially me.
I don't know. To hear Marie talk, Charlotte, it was her that was causing all the issues with y'all growing up. Were you a bunch of troublemakers?
Well, we were free.
Yes.
I love that. Y'all were just being typical kids, is what y'all were being.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And I love the fact that though we'll get into Don, and he was a violent person, your mom did not have a violent bone in her body.
Mm,
No.
You know, I've heard a lot of other people talk about her besides Charlotte and Marie and everyone, and even one of their sisters. They just always talk about what a bright light your mom was, how happy she always was, and she tried to make the best out of all situations.
mhm.
Now, Marie, how old were you when your mom married Don?
Let's see. I think I was about 13.
You were about 13. So
Yeah.
then that would have made you, Charlotte, were you about 11 then?
Yeah, 10, 11.
Okay, very good. Now, Marie,
Yeah, we were just turning.
Yeah, we were just kind of turning.
Yeah.
yeah, very good. Now, Marie, tell me a little bit about your relationship with Don, your stepdad.
In the beginning it was good. I mean, he was very charismatic. He was nice. He actually did, nice things for us kids. I remember him he brought dirt bikes and stuff and would always work on them because, of course, they're always broke.
Yeah.
Um, he just, I didn't, I would have never dreamed that any of this was really going on until all the domestic abuse stuff started coming. And I think it's once he moved into the house is when everything started going down. But while he was not living with us physically, he was a very nice guy.
Mm.
Charlotte, and how was your relationship with Don?
It seemed okay, I mean, he was nice. He did things for us, took us places, helped us, around the house. Not when he was around or when we were at his place, there was certain places we couldn't go, but he just let us be us. But
Okay,
like Marie,
Charlotte, now I want to dig into that a little bit because you said there were certain places you couldn't go.
yes.
What places were off limits? Like where could you not go?
um Well, we could go around the trailer area. It was in the woods up in the hills, and it was dug out, and he had a trailer, but then up on the hill, there was more trailers of his, and we weren't able to go up there,
Hmm.
but we could be around underneath or behind the trailer. We couldn't go up. There was a trail on the other side. We couldn't go up that. We couldn't go in the sailor or the cellar.
Mhm. Do you remember
Uh,
that, Marie?
Yes, there were definitely, because he did have three trailers, and the one that they lived in, that was welcome, but the other ones were locked and we were to never be in them. And there was like this little tool shed cellar weird thing that he never wanted us in. So it was kind of odd, but then we were just like, well, it's probably just whatever's in there. We could get hurt or something. So,
Yes, as
but I
kids,
do,
it's not something that you think about, but now looking back, you makes you wonder.
well,
mhm.
I did get in trouble because the curious child that I am, when you tell me not to do something, I do it. I had figured out how to get into one of the trailers, and I was in there snooping around. Um, and it was kind of odd because the trailer just it looked like it had been like abandoned. It had like some furniture in it, and it was just kind of dirty, dusty. Um, it had like an old musty smell to it. So that's why I was kind of surprised that we weren't allowed to be in there. I mean, it's like what were you going to hurt?
Right,
But
right.
he did find out that we did get caught and we got in a lot of trouble. But yeah, so I don't know exactly what he was trying to hide, or maybe he didn't think he'd clean something up. I don't know, but it was
Now,
kind of just weird.
I want to drop in right now a little bit of the actual history of Don Studey and how I met Marie, because now we're getting into the crust. I haven't heard that part of it yet, that there was places that y'all couldn't go. So every time I meet with Marie or Charlotte, I learn something else about this story. Now, I originally met Marie because she had come to me for a reading. As I know, I'm a psychic medium, and I have brought up her mom, and instantly we're talking. I'm describing her mom. She said, yes, that's my mom. My mom committed or took her own life whenever I was 15. I didn't say anything to Marie right away because she was a brand new client in my office, and I'm not going to tell her like instantly, no, your mom did not take her own life. But her mom was definitely showing me that she had not taken her own life. So I eventually asked Marie, why do you think that? And it was because of the police report that had come out at the time that had said your mom had taken her own life. Is that correct, Marie?
Yes, that's what we were told.
And so then later I said to Marie, well, if you call the trigger on the gun, having her finger on it and someone else pushing it, her taking her own life, okay, but I call that murder. It was at that point that Marie said, well, my stepdad is Don Studey. At the time, I did not know who he was. Since then, of course, I do. And he is being investigated for multiple murders over right across the river. I'm in Omaha, Nebraska, right across the river in Iowa. And it was his actual biological daughter who tried to keep getting people to bring their attention to it. Now, what piqued my interest just then when Charlotte said there was places we couldn't go is, was he holding people there while y'all lived there? Because that is definitely something we have discussed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's why maybe at certain times, but he had left, and that's why, we left us alone to our own.
Okay.
But so maybe that's where he was just testing to see if he could trust us. I don't know.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
No, that does
And
feel right.
clearly you can't.
Right. That absolutely feels right. Now, at the point, let's go. If you all want to hear about some of how we get to this point, please listen to the other podcasts. There was a ton of domestic abuse going on with your mother. She was in and out of the hospital. Marie, you remember her being choked and him on her a lot. Now, Charlotte, do you have memories of that also, of your mom being choked and hit?
Yes, I do.
Now, when your mom passed, y'all were not living with her, correct? Y'all had gone to live with someone else?
Correct.
Correct.
With Dawn.
Our older sister Dawn took us in.
What a blessing, for one thing, that
Yes.
she took y'all in. Now, when you get word that your mom has taken her own life, Charlotte, what was your instant thoughts and reaction? Can you take yourself back to your little girl self and you're being told that your mom has taken her own life? What was your instant thought about that?
I was like, there's no way.
Even as a little girl, you thought that?
Oh yeah. Ever since I got that phone call, there's no way.
And
Because was happy she was leaving him. She was getting us back.
I do also want to bring that up for anyone who is a victim of domestic violence, that you need to be, yes, please leave, get help, but have a plan in place, because that is the most dangerous time, is when you're actually leaving someone.
I mean, she got her own apartment. That right there was big.
Yes, she'd had enough. Now, Marie, when you heard the news about your mom taking her own life, or that's what you were told, did you ever believe it?
No. I didn't believe it because of all of the abuse that I had witnessed. Plus, Don's brother Louis had told me one night that he had 2 other wives that committed suicide. And I just thought, now wait a minute, why are all of his wives committing suicide? And one had hung herself, and he had said the other one had shot herself. I know the one that hung herself is Lucy, his daughter, his biological daughter, that's bringing all this to light. It was her mother. Now, the one that shot herself prior to all this, I'm not sure which one it is, because he does have a long line of girlfriends, wives, and it may not have been a wife. It might have been a girlfriend. I'm not sure. But Louis was very specific on it. And I wouldn't have said that if it wasn't told to me. I mean, how would I know it?
Right, right.
So,
And this was this before or after your mom took her own life? Or they
and
said,
this was before mom had taken her life. So that's why the minute I got that call, I was like, oh my God, no,
right.
he did it.
And I
Mhm.
will say that Marie came to me for an in-person appointment. And so the second someone hits my office or appears on my Zoom screen, I instantly, as I'm talking to them, I'm tapping them to see kind of who is around them. Who do they have in spirit? And what I thought when Marie walked in the office was I could feel that there was a mom energy instantly. I was like, oh, she has a mom energy in spirit. And then how I get so many spirits as I go from who I have, and then I see who is around them. So let's say I have your dad or I'll have your grandmother. I start with that spirit and I was like, okay, who is around them to kind of build from that energetic vibration. And your mom had a lot of other ladies around her, which in itself wasn't odd, but what was odd is they were all about the same age group.
Oh,
Because typically, if someone comes to me and it's your mom, then I'm going to see maybe a sister energy and then a grandmother and a great grandmother. You're going to see all different age groups over there. But with your mom, there was just a lot of young ladies with her. Now, we're not going to name any names here, but there is a wife who made it out alive.
yes.
Yes.
And now your other sister had talked to her and she herself
Mhm.
experienced some horrific abuse.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm so surprised I'm surprised she made it out alive. Just,
She is
Oh.
too.
Mhm.
she did
She's
say that.
Yes. And she was very sorry that our mother didn't.
So now let's talk about, you are young ladies. You're not even teenagers yet. And you are being told that your mom has taken her own life, though in your heart, you know she has not.
Mhm.
So at that point, when y'all are little, Marie, you're what, 13 at this point, and Charlotte is 11. Is anyone raising questions of my mother or Charlotte? Charlotte didn't take. So I don't want to get people confused. I have a Charlotte here who is a daughter, and then also the mother's name was Charlotte. I just don't want
Yep.
people to get confused. Okay, so the Charlotte who is the daughter. Do you remember you talking to anyone raising any red flags about your mother saying no, she did not take her own life?
I remember saying it to the family and to Dawn and Marie.
Mhm.
We tried. Dawn tried. I guess our cousin. She had a friend in the police department. She said she was going to look into it, and then she came back and told Dawn, "Drop it. Let it go. You
Mhm.
need to deal with it. Your mom killed herself. You need to deal with it. Let it go." So
Oh,
nobody would speak of it
Nope.
after that.
Nope.
okay, so
Her own parents, our grandparents, her own parents also just said, we've just got to deal with this. We just have to let it be. And I think a lot of it was based around, from talking to Dawn, was that they wanted Charlotte and I to be able to just deal with it and to move along in our lives and not, they, I almost feel like they were trying to protect us from something.
mhm.
What it
Okay.
is, I don't know, but I mean, whether it was suicide or homicide, you still have to grieve.
Right.
So if why cover something up and why hide it if it truly was homicide? I
What I'm
just don't get
hearing,
it.
I also want to clarify that Marie is saying Dawn, who is their older sister, not
Yes.
Dawn, who
No,
is,
yes.
so she talked to her older sister, Dawn,
Yes.
which is
Yes.
Dawn, not
Yes.
Dawn.
Yes.
So we have to, I want to make sure everyone
I,
is clear on the names. Some of the names are either the same or they're very
yes.
similar. Now,
Yeah.
something that just came to me just now, and so, I was just reading the energy of y'all talking, and the second y'all brought up that your friend came back from the police station, I felt fear.
Oh,
There was fear around that. And so do y'all I don't want to, do you remember the energy in which she said it? Did y'all think that it was kind of odd? She's just like, okay, we're not looking into this anymore. We're done.
she was just very from because she talked to Dawn and Dawn came back and was talking to us, but she was very like in her face, let it go. So yeah, you saying fear makes sense because it was very point blank. We were to not speak about it. We were to let it go. And
Now,
honestly, nobody spoke about it.
something that came through in one of the readings. Now, again, I want to warn everyone that what I'm about to say is not something that has been proven at all. It's just something that came through in one of the readings, is that why did the police not look into it? And so Marie and I were meeting, we really sat with that. And what I was getting from the spirit world is that the police were not involved in any of Don's murdering shenanigans, but there were some other things that they were involved in with Don.
Mm.
And so he had something over their head. And so if they looked into any of these murders, then it would be found out some of these other things that the police were involved in are kind of turning a blind eye to.
Which that makes sense.
Which would make sense if they're like, don't look at it, don't. Now, for your grandparents, what I'm hearing is they were trying to protect y'all.
Yeah, I truly feel like it wasn't. I mean, they were grieving their own grief,
Yeah.
losing their daughter. But to, have these young girls. So
it feels like your
yep.
grandparents were trying to protect you. Like, I think they felt like your mom, but they didn't want to put your life at risk.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you start stirring the pot with some violent people like that, they're going to come unhinged and no telling what.
Well, and Don had threatened my grandfather. He had went to his house and threatened him.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Then that makes sense why I'm hearing that your grandfather, I didn't feel fear from him. Of course, he's in spirit. That's where I'm getting this feeling from, is the
Mhm.
gentleman had stepped up and was claiming to be your grandfather. I'm hearing that he was trying to protect you, that he was he wasn't fearful for his
No.
life. He was fearful for y'all's life.
Mhm.
Now, after discovering, well, let's take a step back. How old were you whenever these rumblings started coming to you that Dawn is now being investigated for potentially taking the lives of many women? How old were y'all when y'all found this out?
It was just a year ago, October.
Yeah. Yep.
Year ago. So all of our life, honestly, once my mom's funeral happened, I had no further contact with any of them. I didn't speak because his two daughters, Susan and Linda, were going to the same high school as I was at the time, but he pulled them out of that. So I didn't see them after all of it. We moved on.
Yeah.
And so now the daughter, his biological daughter, who is saying something, her name is Lucy.
Lucy.
And she's the youngest out of his biological children. Is that correct?
Well, she's the youngest of the four that we know that we lived with.
Okay.
He has like 11 or 12 children. So
nice.
I'm not sure if there was any after Lucy.
Have any of the other siblings, any of his other biological children said anything about corroborating her statements that they felt like something was off? They saw him take people's lives.
No, they haven't said anything about that, but I do know that there was some domestic violence and stuff with some of the other like wives and mothers. So
I'm sure he was not with anyone. Now, I'm not sure, but I would be led to believe that he was not with anyone who he did not abuse.
Pretty much, yes.
Yeah.
Because anyone that y'all talked to, I know, and please, you have to look at the fact that your mom was the third wife or girlfriend who people are saying took their own life while they were in a relationship with Don.
Yeah.
Now that in itself, if nothing else is pointing in that direction, raises a huge red flag.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, since the discovery of this, or even before this, have either one of you really sat down and gotten help or talked to a counselor over the emotional impact of these revelations?
I did. I have not had any counseling or therapy ever in my life.
How about you, Charlotte?
Nope, unless you count sisters.
I was gonna say, I have gotten to know Marie pretty well over the last, I don't know how long ago I met you, 9, 10 months ago.
Yeah.
But since I have met Marie, I have really gotten to know her well. And though she has not had official counseling, like Charlotte said, there's sisters and there's friends, there's other kinds of counseling besides just going to a therapist.
Yeah.
Now, who told you, Charlotte, of what he was being investigated for? Who told you about that?
Actually, I was on break at work and I read it on Channel 7.
Oh my goodness.
They had an article in there, Fremont or Iowa might have a serial killer in from their town.
And they
And then
named him in that article.
Mhm.
So what was your thoughts? What went through your head?
I I I was just in disbelief. I just couldn't wrap myself around it. It's like, oh my God, what? And how they were dissing Lucy and that. It's like, no, we gotta tell him she's telling the truth. I just felt she was telling the truth.
Right.
It's
Yes.
like, no, yeah, it's like, and then I called Marie and it's like, we just like, what?
Now, Marie,
I
did you
felt,
know? Did you find out from Charlotte when she called you?
yes, I found out from Charlotte because I don't really ever watch the news or read the news, so I'm usually oblivious to what's really going on in the world.
Right.
But the minute I felt sick to my stomach.
Because you
I
knew.
completely felt sick to my stomach
You knew what that
because
looked like.
all of the emotions and stuff just kind of hit me all at once, and I don't know, it was just it was so surreal. It was just
It was like a whirlwind.
yes.
Yeah. I can almost feel that, Charlotte. I can feel you seeing that. And it's one of those moments where you're just in shock. Like
Yeah.
it makes sense, it resonates, but also you can't believe it.
Yes.
Like you knew he was mean and evil, but you just couldn't wrap your brain around
How mean and evil.
Yeah.
the level to which he had taken it.
Hmm.
Yes.
Now, did y'all reach out to Lucy shortly after that? Because Lucy was the whistleblower. Lucy was the one who was trying to say, look, my dad's doing these, and she wasn't listened to for years. So kudos to her, because I can't imagine knowing that your dad is doing this. You're trying to get help. And I'm surprised, honestly, that he let her live after her trying. Now, Don has now crossed over. He has now passed
Yes.
himself. But at the time Lucy started blowing the whistle, he was still alive.
Hmm.
Yes.
And I'm surprised that I feel like she's also lucky to be alive.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Hmm.
We didn't reach out to Lucy right away. This story came out in like October, and we reached out to her in January.
Okay.
So we reached out to her shortly, I believe, after my visit with you, Christy,
Okay.
because I just I think what it was is I wanted to just step back and not just react. I wanted to respond to all this.
Yes.
And I know that once we all found out and we were all talking, it was like all I could feel was all the energy of reaction. And I thought, no, we need to get into a state of responding. So we all talked a lot. We went through a lot of different things, and we got our energy levels where they needed to be in the response mode instead of reaction. I don't know. That's why I sometimes feel like maybe I have been through counseling and I just don't remember it, but
No, I would say
No.
that you have just done a phenomenal job of processing. And, I also have not done actual counseling, but you can do self-counseling. You can read and apply concepts to help you navigate this world in a more authentic manner. And for you to be able to sit and understand, you know what, I am reacting here and I need to sit with it so I can respond. Because I can imagine finding that news out, you just want to, you're angry, you're hurt, you're in shock, and those emotions just keep cycling through and cycling through.
Yes.
Now, Charlotte, do you remember, did you also talk to Lucy?
Yes. We had a, well, it was me, Marie, Dawn. Was it Sam and the whole family? We started on Facebook first, and then
I think it was Sam and Mark and Tiffany.
because they got it
I think,
for us, I think.
yeah,
How-
we put together like a little Facebook kind of messaging kind of thing so we could just talk back and forth.
And I do want to say, I come at it a little bit differently being a psychic medium. And so I always require my spirits to tell me something that I don't know. And just when I think that Marie's mom, who is in spirit, Marie's and Charlotte's mom, has told me everything that I couldn't possibly know. Nope. So one of the times I was actually recording a podcast with Marie. I don't know if you remember that. And I said something about your mom is telling me that she couldn't reach the trigger. There is no way she could have taken her own life. And Marie said, but I didn't tell you it was a rifle.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was
Didn't.
like, oh, but your mom is telling me.
Yes.
And then you said that your mom was a short, petite lady.
Yep. She was my size.
And so if someone that size is going to take their own life with a gun, it's going to be a revolver, there's just no way she could have contorted herself to take her own life.
Right.
And now we're going to roll into what has recently happened, because I don't know, I had a reading with someone else in your family. I don't know if they want me to name their name, so I'm not, but I don't know if they told you something else that came up in that reading. I just kept saying, why is your mother, who is also y'all's mother, Charlotte, and not the Charlotte here on my screen, the Charlotte who's in spirit, why is she showing me jewelry? She keeps wanting me to reference this jewelry. Did y'all hear about that part of the reading?
Yes.
Yes.
I had no idea that there was a question about jewelry, but your mom in spirit kept acknowledging. I said, there's something with this jewelry. There's something wrong. There is something off with the jewelry. And so y'all had just had your mom exhumed, correct? Now,
Mhm.
what month did you have her exhumed?
It was in August.
What was it? August? Yeah.
Yep.
Now, one thing that really shocked me over this was that Don, who was in spirit, Don, not your sister Don, was still married to your mom when she passed. So he got to say what happened to her body, and he had her buried and not cremated, which I thought was, you would have thought he would have had her cremated. It just says something about his thinking that he can never get caught.
Mhm.
So now when y'all had her exhumed, tell me, Charlotte, about your feelings when you know that your mom is about to be exhumed. What were your feelings on that?
At first I was really peaceful, but the minute we pulled up, they already had it dug. So the way that we expected it didn't happen. Lucy was with us and she got furiated. So it started off really, really bad. She was just raging, yelling and screaming, and me and Maria are still trying to wrap it around what happened. And I did get a little snooty. I realized what I did and I backed it up. And then I understood it's already done, can't do nothing.
Right.
And Lucy started me and Marie, and it's just like, oh my God.
Why
But
was Lucy upset? What was Lucy upset about?
Lucy was upset because they had dug the hole without us being present. So they had taken and moved like the headstone, and they had actually already dug the hole. And they were in the process of putting all the cabling around the vault to bring it out of the ground. So they already had like the crane set and everything. Lucy wanted to be present when they actually dug the hole.
And why was that important to her?
She felt that there was something buried in that area, actually above the vault. So she thought that there was something buried in the dirt above mom's grave,
Okay.
above mom's body.
And did y'all go through the dirt? Was anything found?
We did not get to go through the dirt. They were very, I don't know. It was just, if I believe truly, if Lucy would have not gotten so infuriated and and had so much chaos around the whole thing, it would have went a lot better. But with her causing so much chaos and so much fear, because she started threatening to use a gun, and I mean, it was out of control. She goes, I am my father's daughter and I can use a 9mm or something like that. So it was truly out of control. So
Yeah, you're not getting your way at that point. You're not getting anything at that point.
no. So I was able to finally calm her down, to where then what she did was storm off, and she kind of left, which was like, thank goodness.
Right.
So so then we could proceed with, you know, the exhuming mom's body and stuff. But I think it was such a whirlwind. So many things that I had in my head that I was going to address and take care of. It's just, you know.
And, you know, yes, that could have been handled better, but also, you know, you think about poor Lucy, all those years of saying, I mean, this was decades, she had been telling people that her dad was taking people's lives and no one is listening to her. And then all of a sudden she has the opportunity to maybe vindicate herself and prove that she's right. And then she feels like it's ruined. So not that I'm advocating what she did, but it definitely, you can understand her frustration and fear and anger in that situation.
And I did, and I handled it very well. I didn't like scream or yell at her.
Right. No, you wouldn't. Marie
I
wouldn't.
brought her back down to this level of, we need to, you know, get this done and to stop.
Keep your eye on the goal.
I did. And I was like, we have got to, because I didn't want, because it was getting so bad that the Volt guys, you could tell, were shaken. And I didn't want them to leave.
Right.
And you know what I mean?
They already
we need
had
to. Yeah, I was like, we are not going to stop this. So, but actually, with all we were so blessed that the Vault Company, originally we weren't even going to be able to be present, and I think the guys, after meeting us and seeing, they agreed to let us come to the Vault Company and watch them open the vault and stuff like that. So we did get to see the process from them taking her out of the ground to, you know, viewing her in her casket.
Now, did y'all see, now once they have her out and they open the casket, did y'all get to see her?
Yes, physically in the casket. Yes, we did.
Yes.
I'm so surprised because she has been buried for what?
40 years.
40 years at that point.
But yeah, but she was very, what is that word?
She was very preserved.
Yes.
She was. I guess the easiest way for me to describe this to anybody, because her vault that he put her in was a 60-year vault. So it was a blessing even for this vault company for advertising for their vaults, because the casket, when it came out of the vault, looked brand new. I mean, other than the little bit of rust on the bottom of it, because there was a little bit of moisture in the vault. And then when we open the casket, the only way I can kind of describe that somebody would know, and I know it sounds kind of silly, but if you've ever seen the movie Hocus Pocus, the guy that was the boyfriend that had his mouth stitched shut.
Yep.
That's what she kind of reminded me of, where the skin was still there on all of her bones, but you could tell that it was just there wasn't any fluid. It was like skin over a skeleton.
Yeah.
So that's kind of
emotions. Like,
yes.
Charlotte, what was your emotion when you saw your mom after all those years?
At first I was taken back. It was a little shock moment there, but then it's like, it's mom.
It was. She still had hair. She still had eyelashes or eyebrows. It was our mom.
Her fingernails.
Now,
Yes,
I'm
you
gonna
still had her
ask you
fingernails?
this, but I just have to know at what point, because I can imagine y'all had to spend, you had to grow up without your mom
Yes.
Yeah.
because now you're realizing someone took her from you. She didn't take herself off this planet. It was not an accident. Someone actually took her from you and you had to grow up without her. I would feel tremendous anger, like
Oh,
seething rage.
feel trouble.
Do you still, now at what point, Charlotte, did you feel that rage? Because I know at some point everyone's going to.
Oh, she felt it that day.
I mean, hey, oh yeah, oh, you mean that day? Oh my gosh, Chrissy. I mean, spirit took me. Ancestors, my ancestors. You remember me talking about the chiefs?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
All of them, all 12. No, 13. All was right there, and they took over. I had no control. Marie was trying to calm me down. I tried. I I don't know. They are strong.
They
Yeah.
are strong.
So
I finally had to kind of step in and just ask them to back away.
So now,
yeah,
Charlotte, were
I
you
couldn't.
upset? Were you upset and crying or were you angry?
No, I was very angry. They wanted me to go track them all down and just take them out.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
But
not me.
Right.
And I told them, no, we have to calm down. Let's just figure out what to do next. Calm down. I can't do that. I don't know half of them, and half of them ain't even around anymore.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we're
No,
very
that's the
angry.
kind of anger I'd be feeling too. You know, that is, and I, of course, in all my life coaching, I always ask, tell people, what are your motives? Let's act in love and light. But let me tell you, there are times where you have to remind yourself that, you're not going to be doing anyone any good. And that would have been it because, the anger of, and especially I felt like seeing your mom in the coffin was a pivotal moment and just the anger boiling over.
Mhm.
Yes, because we seen a lot on her that was what we knew.
Okay, so
Yes,
now let's
we
get
did.
to that because y'all have her exhumed because you want another autopsy done.
Yes.
That was the
Yes.
whole reason of having her exhumed. Now you
Yes.
are seeing her and you don't have the report yet, but now you're telling me that you could physically see, and when they open the coffin, you could see remnants of her having been, I don't know what you
Mhm.
call it, beat or.
Yes.
So now, Marie, what did you witness did you immediately see like bruises and things on her the second they opened the
Mhm.
casket?
Yep. She had a really big, it was probably about 1.5 inches, 2 inches circle on her forehead. That was like dark blue, dark purple kind of bruise. There was a lot of discoloring like around her jawline and her neck.
Mhm.
And the only reason that, and they tried to kind of explain it away to us, but I'm sorry, her face is one color and then her neck's a different color. And it's like, I get it. People are still trying to talk us out of this, but keep trying and it ain't ever going to happen. There was a lot of marks like on her legs, because we made them open the second half of the casket. We wanted to see her legs. And the funeral director, God bless him, he's probably thinking, who are you two? Most people would not even be able to do this. But we were like, no, we have to stand strong. We are following this through.
I'm so proud of y'all for doing that. That would have been really hard.
Well, we
It was,
go back a second time so we could take that casket apart.
yes,
So y'all
because
did
we
go back
kept
a second
getting,
time.
yes, we went back in and looked the second time because we just kept getting messages that we're missing something in that casket. We're missing
Okay, but now I
something.
want to go to that because now this is coming kind of full circle because I had at the point that I was talking to this other someone had come to me, someone else in your family had come to me in an appointment. I didn't know all this information. A lot of this information I'm hearing right now.
Mhm.
Now, And I keep talking to this other family member about this jewelry, There's something off with the jewelry. Now tell me about the jewelry.
There's
There
some,
was, yeah, there's jewelry missing. When we witnessed mom, she had a very specific ring on, which we both said, well, that's an odd wedding ring. And then she had this necklace that matched the ring. And then she had these little stud earrings that matched the ring and the necklace. And we thought it was really odd because it was all blue, and that really wasn't our mom. Our mom was more of like a kind of yellow kind of person. So we thought, well, where's that jewelry come from? Because we didn't recognize it from any of the family jewelry anywhere unless it was some, we thought, well, maybe it was somebody or something from like his family. But the thing that struck me the most is Don being Don and always being so like finance, money, money, money. Why would he bury any jewelry with her at all? Why would he have not taken it off?
You know what's just now coming to me? That it was a souvenir from a different person. Someone else that he had taken their life, he took their jewelry and put it on your mom. Now, again, this is just now coming to me as y'all are talking, and a spirit is stepping up talking about that. It is not something that can be proved, that has been proven.
Right. But see, what's interesting is that ring and that necklace and even the earrings, we didn't receive them back.
Nope.
Mm-hmm.
They don't mention.
Where did the jewelry go?
So now, for everyone listening and watching, after she was exhumed, they did the autopsy. Y'all had her cremated, correct?
Correct.
So why didn't they give you the jewelry? Did y'all request it?
We did. I did go back to the funeral director, and I went back to the lady that did the autopsy. She did not have any record of that jewelry anywhere in her list of jewelry. So somewhere from the funeral director to her, that jewelry disappeared.
Who had access to your mom's body?
Well, that's where he claims, because he came in and he said it was sealed. Here's the seal. He showed us the little tag number for the body bag and stuff. But I don't know what he did in that casket before he took her out of there and sealed it. There was another gentleman at the funeral home with him that he said was his helper.
Right.
So I'm not sure, and I can't prove it, but I know that there's chain of custody.
Right.
Chain of custody is when you had that body, this jewelry was present.
Yes.
It's not present anymore. Why did you remove it?
So what are your thoughts on that, Charlotte?
Well, same. Why? I truly believe that it's either part of another investigation that they're doing that we don't know about, or they grape robbed it.
So,
or it could be part, since Lucy thought something was buried up on top of mom. Maybe
I'm getting that all of these feelings that y'all had about something being in the casket that wasn't supposed to be in there. I think it's the jewelry. I think it's the missing jewelry. Now, I am very curious as to where this jewelry went. Who did this? Like, was this a funeral home?
Yes, it was an actual funeral home in Glenwood.
Is there only one funeral home in Glenwood?
I have no idea.
Don't know.
And what was
But the gentleman was very kind and stuff. But see, I honestly,
and that's why I don't feel like he had anything to, like, tapping into the energy of everyone, it's what I do. I don't feel like he had anything to do with it. So who had access to this body? Where did this jewelry go? I don't think he had anything to do with it.
Well, I know. And I think he was very shook when I asked. So I'm not sure. But see, that's why we didn't want her body to go to anywhere that was associated with Douglas County either. And she sat in the Douglas County morgue over the weekend.
Oh, okay. Because I kept feeling a police presence around this jewelry, and I couldn't figure out why I was feeling that, because I was envisioning that she went straight from being exhumed to the funeral home, but she didn't.
No, when we exhumed her. She went to the funeral home. We viewed her at the casket in the funeral home,
And that's
and
where you
then
saw the jewelry.
and that's where we seen the jewelry, and then they sealed her up. She was put in whatever vehicle and transported to the Douglas County morgue.
That is why I was feeling police around this jewelry.
Mhm.
Okay, so now let's go back to you're having an autopsy done. And I'm so surprised that y'all did it in Douglas County because everyone is closely tied in this area. And how would we put this? People just like to protect their own.
We
Okay.
were told, and when we agreed to do all this, we were told that the lady that was doing the autopsy was an independent pathologist, and that it was not part of Douglas County. She was independent. And I was very, very, very specific on this. And I stopped when we were having our conference call. I stopped them and asked them probably 5 times. They were probably sick of me verifying.
Right.
Because I was very adamant. I didn't really want her at the Douglas County morgue, but
Right.
they had said that this lady needed their facilities to process this. And I said, well, the gentleman at the funeral home had offered up his area for her to do it. But for some odd reason, she wouldn't agree to it. Lo and behold, now after all of this is done, we have found out she's an actual employee of Douglas County.
Shocking, right?
So I was lied to.
Yes.
And so some of you can't prove, but that is an actual lie. And where is this jewelry? You both saw it.
Yes.
Exactly.
And so now let's get to the autopsy. What were the findings? So she changed it she did change the cause of death from suicide to
Yes.
Undetermined.
undetermined.
Yes.
Okay, so now I find that shocking, and I'm sure as y'all do also. We have someone here who has, even this body, you can tell, and she put in her findings, like there were bruises?
No,
No.
she said they wiped away. She did find the stippling.
Yeah, the stippling on the arm, which we didn't see because Mom was wearing a long sleeve shirt.
Mhm. Okay,
We
and so,
And she did find the forehead injury,
yes.
but the rest of it, she claimed it was all kind of just from her being in the casket.
okay,
That it
so
all washed away.
let's just say that it was all from being in the casket. Let's just say that,
Mhm.
except for the huge injury on her head.
Mhm.
Okay, and then let's go back to the original reading with Marie. I could feel that her mom was incapacitated. Her mom was not coherent whenever she passed. Like whenever I had the original reading, I'm saying, oh, someone pushed that trigger for her. And so that would explain that she had this huge knot on her head.
Mhm.
Okay, so she had a knot on her head. She is Marie's size. And Marie, what are you, like
5'2".
5'2"? She's
5'2".
So, a shorter person with shorter arms, and there is no way that she could have reached the rifle because it is common knowledge that she shot herself. In the police realm, it's common knowledge that she had shot herself with a rifle. So what are they, how can it be undetermined?
She wanted to view the photographs from the original autopsy and the photographs from the crime scene. And both sets of photos are no longer to be able to be found. They said that they did destroy the evidence after whatever point of time. But I don't feel like the photographs are part of evidence. The photographs are part of the report. So if you still have the police report, why do you not have the police photo?
They still have the police report?
Yes, they still have the police report, but why do you not have the photos?
Photographs in there.
Yeah, why would the photographs not be with the report?
Okay, so now we're at a point where, is this just at an impasse? It's done, like the autopsy is what it is, and you will never now have her cause of death as being murder?
Um, there is a production company that Lucy was working with that did actually fund us exhuming mom and stuff. Because they're after the truth also, and they were hoping that if we could get mom exhumed and prove that she was, murdered, that then they could exhume Lucy's mom to also prove she was murdered. But with this being undetermined and not homicide, there's no way to get to Lucy's mom to have that happen because Lucy's two sisters will not agree to have their mother exhumed. And you have to have that agreement. Everybody has to agree.
Okay. And, okay, so let's just go through some facts here because I know that people think that everything is going to be on the up and up of when I just cannot imagine a police officer going to the crime scene of your mom having taken her own life, seeing this huge knot on her head, seeing this rifle laying there to this really short woman, and saying, oh, she took her own life.
Originally, they all thought that it was homicide, but then they said that they found some personal effects and stuff that made them feel she had taken her own life.
Even though it was physically impossible.
Pretty much. I don't know. Kind of, I don't know what.
I don't know.
They've never really been able to say anything specific to us to prove that she could pull the trigger.
Yeah.
Right.
They
Right.
always snowball over that.
Yeah.
And I just want to tell you, I have worked with police before on, and there are some, kick-ass police officers here in Douglas County that I have had the beautiful opportunity of working with. And when I am second guessing myself, when I am saying, like, giving them information coming from the person that has passed, and I'm like, well, this doesn't make sense to me. They tell me, no, you go with what you're seeing and you fill in the facts later because they have seen so many being that some of these people should have looked at that and said, you know what? The fact is she could not have pulled the trigger. What's all this other stuff? We'll figure that out later, but let's dig deep into what doesn't matter. I mean, what isn't fitting, and it doesn't fit that she could have pulled the trigger herself.
Right.
So now let's fast forward to now, whenever it has deemed as undetermined.
Yeah. The production company said that they would like to do like a trajectory kind of analysis.
Yes.
And they mentioned something, they might actually even have another pathologist look at this pathologist's findings. Because she was very detailed in her report. I mean, she did an amazing job on her autopsy. I mean, I really, really, really do like her. I just feel like she's in a rock and a hard place.
I agree. I absolutely.
She's an amazing, amazing person. And honestly, even to this day, we still text back and forth asking different questions. She is always very helpful, very kind, will answer anything. I mean, let me tell you, we have asked her a list of questions. She's probably surprised at what some of the questions are that we can come up with. But so yes, she's a very, very kind lady. I just think truly she's just in a rock and a hard place.
I do. And that's the reason I was wondering, I get that y'all were told that she didn't have any ties to Douglas County, because I do truly think if she had enough proof, she would have said it was murder. But now that she is tied to Douglas County, she has to make sure every single I is crossed and every single T. Whereas someone who is looking at it fresh, that is not tied to this county, might have said, well, it has to be murder because she has not, looking at these other things, she has this huge knot on her head. She couldn't have pulled the trigger, those types of things.
Yeah.
So now, beautiful ladies, what is the next step? Are y'all going to wait for the production company to do the trajectory test?
Um, I'm hoping that they can get that done. They have mentioned us maybe going on a talk show, like a morning talk show, like The View, or I can't think of the other one, Good Morning America or something. So they're working on that.
Mhm.
Because they do truly feel like there is still more to this.
There is, yes,
And I think it's great that they're not done.
yes.
Yeah.
And I just truly feel like I really would love to go on a morning show about this, because I truly do believe that the whole domestic violence part of this is a huge,
Yes.
huge
Yes.
story.
It is.
And it's also, but I also feel like it's going to be a very positive story for us three girls to be able to show the world that you can heal.
Oh, yes.
You don't need to let this stuff rule your life.
Mm-mm.
Um, Life doesn't happen to you; it happens for you. And I can't explain why everything happened the way it happened, but I keep finding blessings along the way.
Mhm.
And you you can't change history. You just can't. I
Mm-mm.
mean, if y'all
No.
could go back and change that and have your mom back, of course you would. But no amount of y'all ruining your own life is going to change that. And what I am so proud of y'all for is the strength that y'all have had to keep pushing forward. Every single time people don't believe you, every single time, right now, you've kind of hit a brick wall with this autopsy. Y'all have such amazing strength to say, okay, how are we going to get around this? What are we going to do next?
Mhm.
Yes. Well, because we've been really working hard on putting together a timeline of our mother. And it's kind of helped because it's filling in pieces of her childhood we forgot about.
Yeah.
So
And that's
like addresses and what's interesting is she carried the same phone number. So the minute she got her first place by herself, we had the same phone number for I don't know how many years. Which I
fast.
thought was quite funny. One other piece of evidence, though, that we did give to the police is we lived in an actual house with
Mhm.
Don. See, everybody is so focused on his trailer. We actually, when he married our mother and moved in with us, it was moving into her house. We
Mhm.
lived in a physical house, and
Yes.
he made her sell it
Yep.
and move into a trailer. So that is a huge red flag. Why would she sell, or even why would he move from a house into a trailer?
I'm hearing a couple of things. Control,
Mhm.
money,
Yep,
and hiding.
yep.
Yep.
But see, nobody was ever aware of the house.
Mm.
And and so when we brought that up, it was a huge red flag. It was like all these ding, 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 went off in their heads, and they're like, "What?" And I'm like, "Yes. See, you guys didn't investigate this.
No,
So where was
they
the
didn't
house?
get
Was
it
it
all
was it in
It's
Omaha?
in, yeah, it's in Florence. It's in the Florence area.
on
Um,
28
Mhm.
yeah,
Reynolds.
it's on 28th and Reynolds.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah,
So I look forward to where this story takes y'all, and I do want to encourage anyone who is experiencing domestic violence, please, look in the verbiage of this podcast. There is a number to call, a number to text. Be careful when you're leaving. Make sure you have your ducks in a row because that is when people get the most violent.
yes,
Mhm.
yes.
Now, I also
And
want to ask real quick, typically it is generational trauma. Whenever you grow up in a household where there is abuse, it becomes more accepted. So people have a hard time like getting into healthy relationships because it's just the way it was. That's the way their mom was. So I'm going to accept that for myself. Now, have you ladies, and if you don't want to answer this question, you certainly don't have to, have either one of you been in a domestic violence situation?
I have
Yes.
not.
Okay. All right. Now, Charlotte, do you mind speaking on that?
Um,
Were you
it de-
married to the person?
yes, I was married to him for 13 years. We did have a daughter together. Um, at first he was great.
Mm.
Um,
I want to stop you for a second because I want everyone listening to pay attention to what Charlotte just said and what Marie and Charlotte said in the beginning about Don. In the beginning, they were great. And that is part of that emotionally bonding you to them.
yes,
Yep.
because they're showing you they're good
Yes.
spirit. You know, they're good. But once they get you in there, tied to them,
Yes.
then they start showing you they're bad a little bit at a time. And then by the time you realize it, boom,
It's too, yeah.
too late. You know,
Mhm.
I got lucky, you know. I'm one of the lucky ones that got out.
And I want to
Mhm.
say, really focus on what Charlotte just said also about it happens a little at a time.
Mhm.
So it's just like, this is just an analogy. It's like when you have a back that hurts or something. When your back starts hurting a little bit at a time, you don't realize how bad it's hurting until one day you're like, oh my goodness, my back
Can't
Yes.
is
walk
killing
again.
me.
No, exactly.
It's the same thing.
Mhm.
It's just a little bit of control here, a little bit of demeaning talk here, a little bit of control here,
Mhm.
a little bit of pushing, and then it just starts escalating.
Yes.
And so I'm so proud of you, Charlotte, for realizing and getting out.
Well, I had help and I didn't realize.
Mm,
I I I did. It took me a while. I mean, I had Marie and Dawn on my side. They were in the background helping me, you know, every
Mhm.
time I needed to go somewhere,
Mhm.
it was at Marie's. Marie was my
Yep.
savior.
Yes.
absolutely.
That was my safe place,
Yep.
you know, and then I eventually got myself an apartment and actually left him. But I did get hurt in the process. He threw me off a porch, and when I landed on a metal.
Mm,
So I had a head injury. I did get a severe concussion,
mhm.
but come to find out, though, I somebody helped me that night, and
Yes.
it was my mom.
Mhm. Yep.
So what Charlotte is speaking of is her mom is in spirit, but her mom did help her. Everyone has such a beautiful team on the other side,
Mhm.
a team
Yeah.
of our past loved ones, a team of angels, a guardian angel, guides. We all have a beautiful team on the other side. And I also want to say real quick, there is someone who, there's someone I'm thinking of right now who just a beautiful person, owns a business, just is go go go. You would never know that she had been involved in domestic violence. She divorced her husband because of that, but her to this day she has horrible back problems
Mm-hmm.
because of injuries she sustained from him.
Yep.
Yes, I
So
mean that was just the last incident between me and him, but there was
Mhm.
more through the years.
So I am
You know,
so proud of you, Charlotte, for standing up and getting out, and Marie, you helping her, and just the strength that you ladies have brought to this cause. And the cause is, yes, about getting justice for your mother, but it's also about raising the awareness of domestic violence. Every single person walking this earth deserves to go home to a safe place, not
yes.
one where you are feeling threatened or demeaned or walking on eggshells.
I do want to add something though,
Yes.
because when I did leave, I had nothing, nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So the ladies that do get that strength, because you have it in you, you just gotta find it. It's in there. Make sure, you know, every time you have an incident with them or her, you know, when they're not around, hide money, pack a bag, hide it in a place where he cannot find or she cannot find it. That way, when you do go, you have something to help you along the way.
Thank you for mentioning that, Charlotte. And I also want to thank you for mentioning him or her. Domestic violence comes in all shapes and
Oh,
sizes. It can be woman on
Yes,
woman.
it
It can
does.
be woman, abusing a man. It comes in
yeah,
all shapes and sizes. And even what Charlotte just said, is she said, hide some money, put a little bit away. let's just say that you have hopes that this person is going to change, and they do change, and they become the most loving person ever. So what? You have a little money saved. You can take a vacation,
Yep,
Mm-hmm.
exactly.
but you want to have choices.
Yes.
See, and for me also, the thing I would like to add about the domestic violence is I hope that this actually also reaches to teenagers. There are a
Oh,
lot of teenagers and even middle school kids.
mm-hmm.
It's
Kid,
this
kid.
this abuse starts so
Yes.
early, and the self-worth, and it just the mind control, it starts, and the bullying, it just starts so early. And that's kind of where I'm just hoping that this actually even reaches out to parents of children, that pay attention to your kids.
Yes,
Absolutely.
to the kids
Pay
because
attention to their
see it
relationships.
all. No, the kids
Yeah.
see it all.
You know
You
what?
may,
One of
but
my
they,
daughters had been dating someone for quite some time, and she was very young, and I didn't think much about it until I got her phone one day.
Mhm.
And then it was like, this relationship is ending immediately.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then even she was kind of giving me some pushback. And so because my husband was gone a lot, like I did the day-to-day raising of the children. So when I called him in, they knew it was serious. And so I was like, you're talking to your daughter, because no.
Yes.
Yeah.
See,
And
she's
this
blessed
is,
to have you.
well, it was just, I'm bringing it up because from the outside looking in, we're not a family that you would ever think that that would happen to. All my girls are extremely strong individuals. I'm a
Mhm.
strong individual. It's just not something that you would think, but it was a lot like Charlotte said.
Yes.
I think
Then
the verbal, it
Mhm.
started a little bit, a little bit, a little bit, and
Mhm.
then it had gotten out of control. But
Yeah.
because, they were young, my daughter was young,
Yep.
it didn't really hit her as being wrong because he had conditioned her.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what they do. They condition you.
And you all are so right. It starts young.
Yes.
Yes.
And that's kind of my thing. And I told that to, we were blessed to have the opportunity to speak with one of the officers that responded to mom's call.
Wow.
And he agreed to meet with us three girls, which
Good
for
for
him,
him.
kudos. I'm sorry,
Right.
kudos to look, to be able to look into the faces of her daughters,
Right.
Um, but I did tell him too. I said, this domestic violence stuff starts early. And I told him, if I can save one person, it's all worth it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I want to thank you, ladies, for coming on and being so brave to tell your story. I just really appreciate y'all. I appreciate what you're doing. I appreciate the word that y'all are getting out about this.
Well, thanks for having us and letting us share.
Of
Yes.
course. I want to thank everyone for watching. If you have any questions about this or anything else, you can email me. And if it's a question directed at Maria or Charlotte, I will absolutely make sure they receive it. I want to thank everyone for watching and listening. Y'all have a blessed day.
Thanks, you too.
Bye.
Bye.